Ooh, what up, no? It is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, and we got another debut with you as we are joined tonight by Honey from the Honey Wrestling Podcast. We're going to talk a lot of stuff. We got Sting's farewell. You've got The Rock calling out Cody and Seth Rollins. We got a lot more to talk about, and you've got NXT Roadblock going on there. But before we get to the show, I got to tell you about our sponsors. You already know the deal, Potter's Tree Service. Check out this video. You can see some of the stuff that they can do, but I'll run it down for you. If you are in the need for tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, lot clearing, Potter's Tree Service has got you together. So if you need to get any of these things done, check out this number here. Tell them Knockouts and Three Counts sent you, and you won't even need Hacksaw Jim Duggan or his 2x4. In the meantime and in between time, enjoy the show.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast meeting to the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, no? It is another Tuesday. Corey's computer is fixed, and hot damn it, like I said, we've got another debut in here. How you doing, honey? We appreciate you coming and joining the show.
Phenomenal. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Ready to
Anytime.
get it rolling.
Anytime. We've got plenty to throw out and talk about. Everybody who's in the comments, let us know what you're thinking. Let us know where you're checking in and watching from. Make sure you share the stream, like the stream, hit the subscribe button. If you didn't already do that, hit all the buttons. They usually tell you don't hit the buttons. I'm telling you to hit the buttons. The share one, the like button, the comment button, all the buttons. But in the meantime, like I said, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about with everything that's been going on the last few days. Corey, how the fuck are you on a Tuesday?
Doing well, man. Doing well. That real nice weather we were having yesterday compared to today, though, it's got me on a little bit of that gray funk, a little bit, ready to get back to that spring feeling like we had yesterday. But other than that, man, doing well. What about you guys?
Second that notion. Absolutely. We got rainy all of a sudden. I was just like, oh, come on. We got spoiled, but it's okay. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
Look, we were literally just talking exactly about this before you went live, before we went live, Corey. So you weren't with me. We were both at that WrestleMania in New York where I've talked about on the show multiple times where I got fucking poured on and then none of us could get out of there and my suit was soaked and everybody got bombed. She was there as well, and that was her last WrestleMania. So I'm going to just put this out there, and I'm speaking good energy into the air. I'm about ready to head out to Philadelphia. I don't need no BS with the weather. It's an open-air stadium. We don't need to have no friggin' mass typhoon or none of this shit. I just want to go there and enjoy WrestleMania because I don't know about y'all, but all I'm saying is it looks like we are in for one hell of a couple days come WrestleMania. Honey, I would imagine you would agree.
I of course I would agree, because especially week by week we're getting play-by-plays of exactly what we're leading to, and we still don't know where the hell we're going with all of this shit technically. So I'm just excited to get to the day, but I know we have to enjoy the process, and we still have these upcoming weeks, which is going to be still a lot of buildup, and we're already in the first week, so we're literally a month away from D-days.
I'm with it. I mean, you guys are going to be watching it from the seats. I don't know if Corey's going to J-Bone's WrestleMania party. As you can see, Corey took my fucking belt from Royal Rumble, even though Corey's not even the big wrestling guy. You see that? Son of a bitch doesn't even like wrestling that, but yet then wins the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row and takes the money.
I love the money that's attached with it. That's for sure. It definitely, and I've said it before, it makes me far more intrigued every year come Rumble, because then you got a little money riding on it. Who knows what you're going to walk away with at the end of the night? Are you going to be down 40? You're going to be up 160? Or are you going to get real lucky? You're going to hit both and come up real big. Either way. 2 years so far, I've came out in the positive, so I can't complain.
Fuck you. That's all I'm going to say. But I won't be saying this about what we saw last weekend because I think the general consensus is, damn, did they do good by Sting. I loved that shit from beginning to end, from the entrance to all of it. It was badass. Before I get into my thoughts, ladies first. Honey, what did you think of AEW Revolution and the Stinger's farewell?
I am actually okay. Some people know this, some people don't know this, but I wasn't always a viewer of AEW product, but this weekend totally like sucked me in, and I gave in, and I enjoyed every single moment of it. The Stinger's farewell was exactly what it needed to be. I watching Sting since I was a kid, and that's all I grew up watching. It was just unbelievable what special moments there were, and special and insane spots in that whole match, and in that whole.
He said, "I'm doing it all."
Entirely.
Fuck it.
He wasn't having it. Like he was gonna. You could tell he was having fun, and he did it the way he wanted to do it, and it was on his terms, and what a way to give that man his flowers. But the whole night as a whole was top tier for me, absolutely top tier. And I was pleasantly surprised by it.
That's one thing I'll say when it comes to AEW is AEW's pay-per-views tend to usually be pretty good because they're a little bit longer than the average WWE pay-per-view, as WWE pay-per-views are usually around like 3 hours or so. And with AEW, we're usually clocking in at about, 4 hours and change or whatever. But man, from the world title match with Samoa Joe and Hangman and Swerve, and the way they finished it, which I thought that was really good because it still leaves Swerve in a spot where, like, okay, you didn't beat me, you beat Hangman. Joe still looks like the badass champ that he is. And to your point, I mean, look, I've seen everything from Sting, from Surfer Sting to Crow Sting, to Wolfpack Sting, to TNA Sting, the Joker Sting, to the Sting we saw in WWE, and now the Sting that we've seen through his run through AEW. And I've even gotten to interview his partner, Darby Allin, which go ahead and check that out if you haven't already done so. Hit the subscribe button. We found out real quick and in a hurry he wasn't such a fan of his time with Evolve, but man, the spot with him off the ladder and how his back went through the glass and it looked like he was like popping little pimples of blood on his back, and then it just fucking gushed out, man. It was they went all out, and I mean, from what we've seen in this run with Sting, I mean, that's really kind of been the story. Like, who'd ever thought that you're seeing a dude in his 60s, jumping off ladders and jumping off stages and going through glass like he did in this match. It was badass, but the biggest thing that stuck out to me, the entrance. That entrance was so badass. To have his kid, one kid dressed up as Surfer Sting, another kid dressed up as Wolfpack Sting, and then him come out in the middle, and they got Metallica Seek and Destroy to be the song for that. That shit was awesome. That I feel like that like set the tone right then and there. Like, even for those who have been following the show, I thought it was so dope that I literally just sent it to past guests of the show, Chris Cale, who is with the band Five Finger Death Punch, and they were just here in Detroit performing with Metallica. I was like, bro, I just saw this entrance on Sunday. You need to go watch this. Like, it reminded me of y'all throwing down here in Detroit at Ford Field. So definitely catches you in all the feels. But to your point, the match itself, I mean, I feel like they did like everything like humanly imaginable for them to do. And quite frankly, I think they made the right decision by having Sting go out on a dub. What did you think about it?
I agree. I totally agreed with that. I was like, you can't have this man go all the way and he's a legend. It was also a little bit, I'm sure it was a little bit complicated, being the fact that I think he's like the first actual legend to retire in AEW. You know what I mean? Like, to actually do it in that kind of a way, in a match, in a farewell match. So they had to be very careful with that. I did see a lot of people speculate that they were going to probably have him lose. And I was just like, they can't do that. They can't.
But that's wrestling custom. That's why.
Of course. Absolutely. But either way, I think everybody knew you cannot have this man lose his farewell match unless he agrees to it. Unless he agreed to it in some way, shape, or form. But I don't think he was going to do that twice. Just saying.
And that's another thing to your point. That's another thing to your point. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, I was just going to say with the Sting thing, it really seems like they hit the ball straight out of the park on this one. From everything I had seen online, of course, I did actually take the time to watch good portions of this match. But, normally I'm not tuning in. And this stuff, it definitely captivated the audience, man. I seen everybody on Twitter was going crazy about it. Everybody, to your guys' point, really seemed like it lived up to expectations. It seems like they genuinely did a good job of giving him his flowers, giving him that proper send-off, and allowing him to still have enough time and showcase what talent he still does have in that match. And to your point, to get the win, the only way I could see him, I guess, losing is if they did some big, like, he got buried under the smoke and then all of a sudden he disappears type of thing, or something,
something very dramatic
thing. Yeah, something along those lines where it's like real theatric, real like fog, and all of a sudden he's just gone. He's gone from, never to be seen again. I could see something like that, but the direction they did it with the win and stuff like that, I don't disagree with that either. And I if anything, to your guys' point, you got to have a legend go out on top, and that's, you like to see it.
Absolutely.
Hey, like I said, I can't argue that. Definitely a great show for AEW on this one. My biggest thing, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts is. Shout out to everybody that's joining the stream. If you guys are new here, do us a favor, hit that like button, share the stream. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, all the buttons. Make sure you check them out. But with that being said, my question is, the first thought I had after that last match happened and the great show that we had, and again, I enjoyed everything, even from the women's championship match with Toni Storm and them as well. I feel like they killed it, and the story that they had in there. This is one of the first shows that I feel like AEW has had in a while where they were one of the first shows in a while where they did a good job of having like story into a lot of it. If you think about it, like there was the story between Swerve and Hangman, and then you had the story of the friendship between Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm, and the thing with the tattoo, and then to have Mariah May come out dressed like the old Toni Storm. I liked all the little elements of story because, as many people know, that's been one of my biggest complaints when it comes to AEW, and a lot of fans' complaints is it just felt like there wasn't enough of a story going into it and where we come out of it. But my question now is, before I get to the question I was going to ask, knowing that you're also part of the show and the channel Women's Wrestling Talk, shout out to our friend TK Trinidad, you got to tell me, how were you feeling about Toni Storm versus Deonna Purrazzo?
I actually enjoyed it very much. I freaking love Toni Storm, and what she's doing right now. Her work has been incredible, especially her promo work and the gimmick and everything that she's doing. The like timeless Toni, like keep doing that. And she like, not for nothing, Deonna Purrazzo did give her a run for her money, because both of those girls were having at it that night. So shout outs to both of them. But I expected Toni to come out on top for that match. So I was just very concerned about the ending of it, because there was a little bit of an interaction that I felt like a little odd interaction, and with I'm not, who's that, Mariah May, I think.
Mariah May.
Yeah. So I think that's something to look out for. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe I'm looking into it too much, but the match was exactly the way it needed to go, and both of those women did exactly what they needed to do that night. But there had to be one woman to come out on top.
I can't argue it. I don't think it's going to be the end of what we see with Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm. I think this is a feud that they can kind of build on, and I think it's something that they can build on and, continue to keep a story going with that one. But again, another match that killed it. I mean, literally from top to bottom, like we talked about at the beginning. I mean, AEW pay-per-views really, they usually tend to do very well as far as the pay-per-views go. They're a little bit longer than a WWE pay-per-view, like I said, but Tony being very match-based, you very rarely get out of an AEW pay-per-view and you're like, damn, there wasn't any good matches or anything like on those. But again, with it to go out with Sting, my final question that I was going to bring up with that is, I feel like what this boils down to is how do they continue to build on this if they can't use the momentum? Because if you look at like All In, even though they had that huge show in Wembley, after a few weeks, it kind of smoldered down a little bit. Now you've got all this heat with Sting's big farewell and all the stuff you've got with Samoa Joe and Swerve in them as well. And then you've got, the potential or pretty much confirmed debut of Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné coming to AEW. I really hope that they're able to catch the momentum that they were able to gain from this and build off of it. Because I just feel like it would be a shame if after this they didn't really get any real payoff for that. What do you think, honey?
I honestly think that the momentum that they could build off of after Sting's farewell, because if it wasn't for me personally, if it wasn't for Sting's farewell, if that wasn't happening on Revolution, I would call Takeshita and Will Ospreay's match the match of the night, because they absolutely rock.
There we go.
There's an absolute momentum there that can be gained from those two, because I need more of that. I was like, this match has completely, I said it under somebody's post. I don't know who I said it to, but I said it and I was just like, whatever they did with this match and exactly what this match did is raised the standard for me as an AEW viewer. Because now I'm going to watch consistently, because I want to make sure that at least if not both of these guys are wrestling each other or wrestling against somebody, because they were unbelievable from beginning to end. I was out of my seat for that match. That was my favorite match of the night if it wasn't for Sting's. Can't
argue with that, because I've said it on this show multiple times. Will Ospreay is my favorite guy to watch right now, period. Like in ring, I've been a Will Ospreay guy for a long time. And again, I'll go back to the little details, which I think in a lot of times AEW, it seems like they lack at times. I feel like they did a good job of those things. Like with the fact that Kyle Fletcher walked down the ramp after the end of that match, and instead of doing anything to do with the Callis family, they're throwing up the United Empire stuff. And let's not forget, he's facing somebody from inside the Don Callis family. I mean, I think it's only a matter of time before Will Ospreay gets tired of the Callis bullshit, and then you can see the United Empire all back together when Kyle Fletcher's partner, Mark Davis, I think is his name, when he comes back as well. So with that said, I'm with you 100%. And anybody who's watching, shout out to everybody that's watching the stream right now. Let us know what you think, man, because I can't get enough of Kenny Omega. What were you going to say, Corey? Or not Kenny Omega. I meant to say Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay.
Everybody talks about Ospreay or Omega, and I apparently had a slip.
I was going to pose the question, because even you had kind of brought it up, honey, that you weren't the biggest fan of AEW in past moments and spots and stuff like that. I guess two-part question statement kind of also. Would you have tuned in if it wasn't for the retirement match that you knew was going to take place, A, and then B, how Kyle, you had mentioned the momentum and stuff like that. I feel like that is where you talk about the momentum, is they had so many people that wouldn't have normally tuned into their pay-per-view event that cared to actually, view the stuff because of the fact that they've cared for Sting, whether it be in this modern era or, his past stardom, really. I mean, like I say, two-part question, because I think if you're talking momentum, that to me is the momentum that they can build off of. I mean, of course, they, like you had said, Kyle, they always really do a good job with matches. I mean, even as somebody who's a casual wrestling fan, I would say that's the standout thing, is they always have really good match to match to match type of entertainment. But that being said, would you have been tuning in? And do you think that's the momentum that they can carry with such a big star retiring? You got to kind of build up that where are we at with that, do you think?
I honestly, it's so funny because I remember saying out loud, I was like, honestly, if it wasn't for Sting's thing, maybe I wouldn't tune in. But as I was talking with the crew at Women's Wrestling Talk, shout outs to them, I was just learning a little bit more and more about what was going on, and it just intrigued me because I was talking about it with Professor. Shout outs to the Professor. He broke down the whole card, and we talked about the whole card, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this because every match had at least somebody I cared about at some point as a wrestling fan. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, this looks like it's gonna be really freaking good. So I'm definitely gonna tune in on that. And initially at first, when finding out that Sting was going to be retiring when they first announced it, I was gonna tune in no matter what. But then I saw the card, and on top of that, I was like, oh, okay. All right, let's do this. So I sat there and I enjoyed every second of it. I really did.
As far as that goes for me, man, it's as simple as this. Like, I think there's not any way to argue that it being Sting's last match is what sold that building out. Like, they sold the pay-per-view out, which that's something that everybody likes to do, is make fun of the fact that there's open seats and all that stuff in AEW. And for them to sell that out like that, I think tells you everything you need to know as far as that goes. I think Sting may have been what brought them into the house, but to Honey's point, I mean, you had Ospreay versus Takeshita. You had the triple threat for the world title. You had FTR versus the Blackpool Combat Club. I mean, you had bangers up and down it. That's why
Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy tore it up too. Like that was an insane match, and it was funny, and because I said this also on the stream with them this past week, I was just like, Roderick Strong. I completely forgot how much I love to watch Roderick Strong work in the ring, and seeing him like do what he did, and with Orange Cassidy, that was also a brilliant match. So it was just like. They had no choice because the card was so heavy, you know.
Like I said, that goes back to AEW's pay-per-views and how they really kind of knocked those. But again, let's talk a little bit before we since we're getting to the WWE side of things. I know you are already well ahead of me at NXT Roadblock. Do me a favor. How are you feeling about what we're seeing in NXT right now? And what do you think out of what we've seen thus far in NXT Roadblock? I got to see the cage match between Gacy and Dijak. And like you and I were talking about while I was watching it, I'm just so glad that Dijak is Dijak again. Thank God that he's not T-Bar anymore. And Joe Gacy's another guy who anybody that's been following our show for a long time, that's how we had guys like Austin Theory on the show when he was wrestling for Evolve for the 10th anniversary special. Dijak is another guy that we saw in Evolve. Darby Allin, like I said, that's how we found out he didn't like Evolve, because I asked him about Evolve. But with that being said, I mean, you've got guys that are getting these second chances in NXT, and I would say that we saw a pretty good match between them two and a banger in that steel cage match. But give us a little bit of a breakdown of what you think so far of NXT Roadblock.
So far, what I'm thinking about Roadblock is it's almost exactly what I expected. There's a match that just happened to pop up and finish here that I wasn't expecting to see, but it's interesting. And I don't want to give away too much, but
you're all good. I'm going to go back and watch it. Fuck it.
Gacy and Dijak were killing it, but I kind of wanted more from that match. I don't know if it's just me, but they make me want to see more of them. But I just feel like it just needs to be longer than just on a Tuesday. You know, it needs to be at like a stand and deliver type thing, which I'm sure that's what it's going to lead to based on what happened. Sean Spears also has debuted in the ring this evening, and I must say I was very impressed with his entrance. I'm really digging it, and I'm digging like where he's taking this role. I won't. Well, I guess I could say it.
Who
But,
gives a damn? Go ahead.
Ridge Holland actually shows up and tries to attack him, and as he's about to attack him and hit him with the chair, Sean Spears is just asking him to, until refs pull them apart, which was quite interesting to me. So I can't wait to see this side of Sean Spears. I really do miss the Ty Dillinger 10, but I know good things like that can't always last forever. But seeing Sean Spears in this light, I totally want to see a championship already on him, like now, considering what I just saw. But the tag team match already happened, and it was exactly what you would expect. There's no way that Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley were going to take that just that easily from the Kabuki Warriors. I'll just leave you guys with that one. I'm not going to give away the details. I want you guys to enjoy it because it actually did get pretty good in between. But so far, so good.
All right, so that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Sean Spears being another one, like we mentioned, of the ones who went from WWE to AEW and now has come back to WWE. Do you think that him coming back as Sean Spears and more of like the chairman character that we saw from AEW, do you think that that's going to be able to translate more so that, he can have a better run this time around in WWE? Because the other thing with that is most of his success in WWE was when he was part of NXT, and with, like we've talked about on the show before, NXT putting out such a solid product alongside Raw and SmackDown. I mean, normally, everybody talks about how NXT is the developmental of WWE and all that stuff. But I think for somebody like a Sean Spears to come back over to WWE and then be over there in a system like NXT when they're doing so well, I feel like he could really do well, but I'm still kind of, the jury's out for me as far as to how well I think this run will go. What do you think?
I think you just got to see it. You got to see what you got to actually watch when he comes out. Because I was just like, oh, okay. It was a very intense kind of entrance, and I think his personality really shines through with his gimmick really well here. It's very convincing to me, and it's no doubt in my mind that he is going to have a much better run this time around, and I think he deserves that, and which is why I'm sure he wanted to come back eventually, or decided eventually to come back. Shawn Michaels has a real good knack for seeing potential in out of the box things, and it's worked well for Sean Spears in his own right, being that he came up with that in AEW. But the minute that I'm surprised, one thing I will say is that I am very surprised about how quiet they kept it. There was no leak or anything like that. Nobody gave anything away. Like, we completely and it's like we didn't even notice that he was gone from AEW. I mean, at least I didn't, but it's just one of those things where it's like, oh shit, like that's a pretty good comeback, and I think I'm very positive that he's going to get a much better run this time.
Hell yeah, good to hear, because that's the thing, man. Sean Spears, obviously, as Ty Dillinger and being the perfect 10 and all that stuff, like, obviously that didn't go the way that he would have hoped it to do, but we've heard about how many guys, including a Mercedes Moné, who went over there, and you've got all these people that have went over to his school and have helped train. They've helped train a lot of the people that you're seeing coming up now. Him and Tyler Breeze having flatbacks and all that stuff as well. So I think this is just another case of when somebody leaves WWE, being able to go out and show your worth, not only with what he did in AEW and being one of the first ones to go over there, but, I think that there's something to be said with what he's doing with some of the talent that they've helped produce in there, and that so much talent goes to them to either knock ring rust off or, to tighten up on some things. I think all those things matter. And I think even to go off of that, with what we saw on Raw last night with Andrade coming back, WWE, I like the fact that, and you can already see little differences between like the Vince era and now with Triple H essentially being at the helm, because I like the fact that even with Andrade, I don't know if you peeped it, like when he came out to the ring on Monday, like his new music, even though they were talking about how, He's a former NXT champion, and he's got titles on the main roster. Did you notice how in his music, now that he come back, it's got El Idolo in it? Like they keep talking about that the whole time. So like, I like the fact that they're not shying away from what these people are doing, while they're gone.
Well, even before he went to AEW and had the El Idolo, he had the El Idolo the whole time. It was just done differently. I think it was like a different kind of sound in the first one when he was in AEW. Mm-hmm. But he was always El Idolo. I guess that that's just something that they were able to keep, which is good.
Well, I like that he's still using the mask and everything too. Not necessarily the name, but I'm saying they're sticking to that same aura that he had as a character. With the mask and the entrance, and it looks like he was looking when he was coming out in AEW, except obviously with that WWE flair. So yeah, they did allude to him as El Idolo when he was in WWE before. I just mean, I feel like this is more of the Andrade that Andrade wants to be versus the guy that we saw in NXT when he first came out with the suspenders and all that shit on, and the fact, again, this is another reason why Michael Cole will go down just like JR is going down already, in that I love all the little details that they're acknowledging that they never used to, like talking about his father, La Sombra, and all the stuff that he did in CMLL and all that stuff. These are all things that you wouldn't have seen years ago when it comes to that. So that's something that stuck out to me, is I just like I like a lot of the little details that we were seeing them tuck in, because it's not something that WWE notoriously has always done. So maybe not El Idolo in particular, but I just am noticing that we're starting to see more and more of those Easter eggs throughout these guys and girls when they're coming back, instead of just completely shying away from it. So,
quick question I want to pose to you guys, because I've noticed lately it seems like AEW's had, I don't want to say struggles, keeping their next, not the top tier guys that they're currently building and stuff like that, but it seems like they're having struggles keeping a lot of the guys and gals like Jade Cargill and stuff like that are kind of like their potential next up guys. It seems like they keep getting those guys all of a sudden, like you're saying right now, where re-signing back to WWE, or new faces brought into the organization. Is it an issue basically where everybody dreams their whole life of, if you're going to be a pro wrestler, you want to be in the WWE type of thing? Or is it just they picture more success for themselves through that route? What's your guys' thoughts on what I think I'm seeing, at least in the wrestling organizations?
Honey, what do you think? I'll let you go first.
Honestly, I think, obviously I think it would be silly to disagree, only because you see how they've booked Jade. We've only seen her twice. Twice in the ring anyway, at least from my knowledge, or once we were going to see her in just the Rumble, but we were going to see her in the Elimination Chamber, and they took her out of that, which I'm glad they did. I think it's all about timing, and I think with what we're seeing with this era of WWE and not Vince's era is the fact that Triple H and Shawn Michaels have a huge amount of patience, and they know how to build. If you've watched them back in the day, you know how they've built stories, and they are giving us the slow build to the point where sometimes fans do get impatient, or they want it now, but it's also because of the buildup and the excitement. So I'm not sure if it's I think it's definitely a mix of that, wanting to be careful with their future stars and the ones that are going to be the next up, and about conditioning them in putting them in the right spot. It's all about timing, right place, right time. I think what they're doing and how they're doing things with Jade is, oh my god. Okay, sorry guys. Wow. Okay, so that's crazy. So,
well, you can't just say that and then not.
Mr. Regal has made his appearance known on NXT.
Let's go.
Finally. Let's motherfucking go. That just got me really happy because the World Cup champion Dempsey is in the ring with
his kid,
Gulak and the crew, and basically. But
it's his kid. His name's not Dempsey.
No, I know. Yeah, no, I know.
I was just clarifying for anybody who don't know. It's not a coincidence they look alike.
Yeah, it's that I wasn't expecting at all, and I know the crowd just went crazy. But going back to your point, Corey, it's a mix of them trying to be careful in right place, right time, along with trying to give the second chance, or sometimes in some cases, depending on who you are, third chance, to be exactly what they really wanted to be, or find an extension of themselves that they didn't find before and evolve. And I think that there's very few wrestlers or superstars that could pull that off. But, because like considering Roman Reigns and how we've seen him evolve into what exactly he is today is just absolutely insane. And I think if you asked a lot of people if Roman Reigns would be in this level, a lot of people would have thought, yeah, you're fucking lying. But, there's people like me that have acknowledged their tribal chief for a very long time. So
here we go.
I'm sorry, but I gotta say it. I gotta stir the pot. That's how it is. But
I'm not mad at it.
I think it's a mix of both, though, Corey. Because like I said, they find an extension of themselves when they get to evolve and do other things. So Sean Spears probably wouldn't have been able to get into that much depth in his character if it wasn't for him going to AEW or getting let go by WWE. It's all about circumstances too.
All right. As far as I go with that, Go ahead, Corey. All right, never mind. All right. With that being said,
I was just gonna say I was more so. Yeah, my shit's glitchy. Go ahead, Kyle.
All right. Like I was saying, for me, man, it all boils down to you're proving your worth, right? Like when you really look at it, like when all these guys or girls or even somebody like a Jade, I mean, the fact that WWE picked her up that quick after she left WWE or AEW, when let's face it, I mean, she's got the look for sure, but really is still unproven in a lot of ways. Even though she did all the stuff she did in AEW, that was all, fresh out of being trained and stuff. But to your point, I think with WWE being on the roll that they're on right now, they know that when they get Jade there, I'm gonna be honest with you. I said it when we were sitting there at the Royal Rumble. I wouldn't be shocked if Jade is going to go right for somebody like a Nia Jax at WrestleMania. I mean, they had their standoff at the Royal Rumble, and I mean, you got the immovable force meets the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. I mean, like I said, that one's got money written all over it. There's so many matches that are money for them. But to your point, Corey, and to answer your question, I do think them going outside WWE and them being able to build their worth, and look at guys, even like what guys who have just gotten let go from there are doing. Like, look at Nick Nemeth. Okay, he's in TNA. He's already went over and won a title in New Japan. I mean, the guy's out and everywhere right now, having matches all over the place. So eventually, I would say that I would think he probably ends up back in WWE at some point. But when he does, he's going to be an even bigger star. And what doing that and making yourself a star outside of WWE does for you is now, with that said, you can't go back there and just say, okay, we're going to put this guy back as he's just going to be a good match for everybody guy. When you go out there and prove yourself in that way, then when you come back, you almost have to be looked at like, okay, this guy's a star. She's a star. You know what I mean? Like when you go and prove yourself elsewhere, I feel like, at least from what we've seen so far, it very much seems that under the WWE or the Triple H regime, there's being a lot more looked into as far as that stuff. But you talked about it. You talked about acknowledging your tribal chief. Good segue. Even The Rock now has acknowledged the tribal chief. So let's start there, if any. What were your thoughts on what we've seen from The Rock's return and what we just saw this past Friday on SmackDown, which for any of you guys that didn't get to see it, the Die Rocky Die signs were back, and they were blacking out the screen because of those. And then
he was calling out the crackhead Karen
that yes,
Mary's.
If anybody else said the shit he did, bro, their shit would have been getting cut. I'm so glad to hear that somebody else besides me was not just sitting there like, yo, he's calling them crackheads, talking about he's gonna smack herpes off a chick's lips, and like.
I was on WWT Live doing my watch along, and I'm just like, I don't even know if I can repeat that. I don't know if I want to repeat that. But yeah, I did once probably. But it's just that it was just hilarious. What I think about it. Did he acknowledge him or didn't he? Like, did he or didn't he? I don't know. These segments.
It's the Easter eggs. There we go again. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I love when there's the little pieces, or the fact that when he puts the one up, he's always doing like this. He's not doing the one. He's doing like this.
There's so many things that are leaving me more with questions than answers, and I'm just like, I'm gonna follow this rabbit hole. I'm not sure what I'm gonna find by the end of this, but I'm going to follow it because I'm all in. And damn it, it's money, and it's gonna be cinema. Like we there's no absolute way that I don't know, man. There's still the factor with Cody and Seth's relationship. A lot of things looking real sketchy there, especially the way they filmed the vignettes to the previews to the storyline. And I'm just like, why would they put that there in my face? What are they saying? Is this going to happen? Is there going to be a double turn? Is there going to be a swerve? Who's the swerve? What the hell is going on?
Anybody that's watching, I see y'all on YouTube and all of you guys watching us on Twitter. If you're watching along, we want to know what it is that you think about all these things as well. All right, to your point with that. For me, that's the best part about this WrestleMania, man. Like, there's literally so many ways we can go. And I feel like regardless of what that looks like, dude, we are in for one hell of a WrestleMania. And like you said, it's the little things, like the thing with the finger. And now Roman, stops The Rock when he goes to do the, if you smell what The Rock is cooking, and tries to get him to acknowledge his tribal chief. And again, that leads into what we saw on Friday, because now The Rock is up the ante. He has now challenged Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins on night one to face The Rock and Roman Reigns in a tag team match. And if The Rock and Roman are victorious, we're going to see Bloodline rules on night two for Cody's match for the world title. But if Cody and Seth can beat him, or beat them, now you get it without all the Bloodline in there. Now, I'm going to just throw this out there. I have been kind of thinking along the lines of what you were saying, in that I feel like you can't tell me that Seth doesn't got to feel like, to some degree, that he's being looked at as like the second hat champion at this point. Like, Roman has literally said in multiple promos that's like the B-side championship pretty much. And he was basically told, get out of here, you're not needed, at the WrestleMania press conference. And the fact that we're doing this match on night one and Cody's got to go in on night two to try to win his title, bro.
I smell something and it smells fishy.
Yo,
fishy
and
to me. Something's in
what
the
I'm
water.
saying.
Something's cooking that we're not seeing, or we are seeing playing in our face, and we don't know what it is yet. But I just don't want to say anything yet, because I just want to sit back and see what happens.
Exactly. But I'm picking up what you're laying down, and I'm with you, because all I'm saying is, think about it this way, right? So let's look at it from both scenarios. On one hand, if Cody and Seth win, that gives Cody a one-on-one chance at Roman, which in that case, I think Cody's definitely winning the championship. But let's just say that The Rock and Roman beat Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and it not be Cody Rhodes who loses. Let Seth Rollins lose somehow, and let there be some kind of, issue between Cody and Seth, like, man, because you got pinned, now we got to do Bloodline rules and all that. Because all I'm saying is I want to see what all they bring out in this Bloodline rules match. I've said this on past shows. I want to see Alpha and Sika. I want to see all of them. I want to see the Usos. I want to see Naomi. I want to see Nia Jax. I want to see everybody that you can bring into this motherfucker. And if we don't see Rikishi, I'm going to be pissed. I want to see all of them if we get this Bloodline rules match. And I feel like it should just be some kind of like tribal combat looking thing or whatever the case. Or the other way I could totally see this playing out, and honey, feel free to give me your thoughts on this. I could also see this playing out to where it being something like, okay, let's say The Rock and Roman do lose, but it's not because of The Rock or because maybe Roman does something and The Rock goes, you're supposed to be the tribal chief and we lost this match or blah, 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 whatever the case. Or who knows? It could even go the opposite of both of those, and maybe The Rock's been playing the okey doke on us the whole time and says, fuck you, you were never the tribal chief, and The Rock is why Roman loses the title. I mean, literally, a lot of different ways we can go with it, but again, this is why I'm so much looking forward to seeing how all this plays out and the suspense of getting there. If you guys are going to be in Philly for WrestleMania, man, you got to chime in. Let us know where you're going to be at. I know I'm going to be out and about, and we are getting after it. I know we're going to be at Wale Mania. Shout out to past guest of the show, Lindsay Snow, trying to go get herself another win at Bloodsport. Do your thing with that. I need a new tattoo when I see you. With that being said, I just feel like we're in a spot where any way this goes, the fans are winning, even though that stupid cliche ass sound. But I am telling you, I feel like we're really in a spot. So what do you think out of that? Which one do you think is more likely? Do you think we're going to see the Bloodline rules match on night 2, or do you think that Cody and Seth somehow could get it done over The Rock and Roman, honey?
I mean, this is what I keep saying to a lot of people. I keep saying there's either going to be some really happy fans after WrestleMania 40, or there's going to be some really, really pissed off fans after WrestleMania. And there's no ways around it, but at the end of the day, you're going to either you're going to like it, you're going to love it, and damn it, you will respect it. But I believe that there's going to be issues that stem up leading up to that night, leading up to that match, especially that first match. Seth's got a lot on his plate as well. Cody's not the only one who's going to have to fight in another match as well. And if I'm Seth, I must say, I am a little concerned. I'm a little concerned if I'm Seth, because for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'm in here, in your face, telling you, either fight me for my title, screw Roman, forget about that Hollywood title, right? You remember him saying that?
I remember.
Cody never gave him an answer to that, number one. Never actually looked him in the eye to give him that answer. He kept dodging it because it was more about Roman. He said he understood and respected. Never necessarily gave Seth an answer. 1. Weeks later, Cody and Rock inserts himself into the picture, throws a monkey wrench in the whole program because, the Cody crybabies were out, quote unquote, and everybody felt like they pivoted or whatever it was.
I want to just say I got your back, Dave LaGreca. Damn it, you wear the pink robe. Fuck The Rock.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter, honestly. It doesn't even matter where you stand, honestly, because at the end of the day, you're going to fucking watch this. And when The Rock has inserted himself into the picture, does Roman really look happy to see him? Has anybody really noticed?
Oh, no, you can see it. And they're getting a little side-eye views. And when The Rock was cutting his promo and calling them crackheads and meth heads and everything, he was just sitting there all sourpuss.
And not to mention, when he was doing his entrance, he wasn't happy to see him either. But I digress on that. But going back to Seth and Cody, what the hell? Going back to Seth and Cody, it's now weeks later, and Cody got slapped at the press conference, and Seth came to his defense and all of this stuff. And he's like, if you're going to go at the bloodline, you're going to need help. And Cody hasn't
Never
really
seemed like he
been
really wanted that help.
answering or seeming like he wants the help, or, you know, I mean, if am I wrong for thinking that if I'm Seth, eventually
Not at
I'm
all.
going to lose my patience because you won't straight up give me an answer, either to fight me or
Well,
fight
I
with
mean,
you, but
hold
like,
on though. You say he didn't necessarily give him a straight up answer. I mean, really, if you read between the lines, I mean, think about it. Remember now, they've faced each other 3 times. Cody beat him all 3 times, and even did it when he ripped his titty off. Okay, and so for him to beat Seth 3 times, including ripping his titty off, what does winning his title do for me? I've already proven that I can beat you even with a ripped titty. So now I want to go back and get my lick back. Anyone that's ever lost in any kind of competition, much less get screwed like he did at WrestleMania 39, I got to get my lick back. And Seth Rollins, as the World Heavyweight Champion, has to be feeling some type of way because of that. Like, I'm the world champion, and you're essentially saying that I'm not getting my chance back. And let's not forget, Seth Rollins did come out on Monday Night Raw and said that he needed Cody to pick him because he needed to get his lick back. And like you said, he didn't really pick that up. He didn't really want to go with it. He didn't really want to fuck with it. And now that's got to eat in your craw a little bit. And now you already got Roman calling it the second class championship. And now Seth is trying to get Cody to fight him. And Cody, in so many words, is like, bro, I've already beat you, dog. That's pretty much what we got out of that. That's got to have him feeling some type of way. So again, goes back to my point with that. I think we're going to see some fuckery, whether that's between The Rock or we're going to see it from Seth Rollins or a combination of The Rock and Seth Rollins. We're going to see some fuckery in here, and that's all I'm saying.
There's also the
what
point
up, though, Big Don?
There's also the point of Mr. Paul Heyman as well, because I also want to add something to this. The man not even have anything to do with his induction yet.
We got to talk about that too, but
we will get into that. But I will sit here and say that Paul Heyman is a little bit
of a wild card.
I have him as like, yeah, I have my eyes on him too, because not for nothing, on Friday when Roman came out and they all came out together, and Roman came out and he was just like, you know what, this crowd ain't loud enough for me. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I could get paid. I already did my job. I could leave. Paul Heyman was the one who reneged and said, my tribal chief, we can't leave yet because he's about to come out. And if I'm Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, and you're my wise man, why are you saying, let's wait for The Rock? I don't got time to wait for The Rock.
Because they did it for The Rock.
And you guys made me stand here during a whole commercial, you know, waiting for your ass to come out. I don't got to deal with this. If I'm Roman, I'm asking questions. Whose wise man are you? Are you his wise man or are you my wise man?
Well, and don't
last time
forget,
I checked, you know,
don't forget about Paul's
questions.
Yeah, and not to mention, don't forget Paul's lineage to that family, bro. Like, he goes way back with them, like the Wild Samoans way back, and, you know, Samoan SWAT team way back. And let's not forget, and let's face it, anyone that knows anything about Paul Heyman knows that Paul Heyman at times could be a slimy motherfucker too. So with that being said, I wouldn't doubt that he's standing there like, you know, this sounds like this could go left. I feel like, you know, and because Roman already seems like he's seeing that, and I feel like Paul Heyman already kind of sees what's coming and what's getting put down. I think by the time we get to WrestleMania, night 1 and night 2 are all said and done, boy, I feel like I stick by my statement. Maybe that should have been the title to the show, even though they wouldn't let me monetize it then. There's going to be some fuckery. That's all I'm saying is I sense some fuckery. But since we brought up Paul Heyman, thank you. Finally, I'm sure Paul Heyman had a lot to do with why they didn't put him in the Hall of Fame yet. But with it being in Philadelphia, how can we not put in Paul Heyman in the fucking Hall of Fame, in the birthplace of ECW? this shit is going to be awesome. I'm honestly surprised that Paul let them put him in the Hall of Fame while he's still actively working in WWE. But if you were ever going to pick a place that reminds you of ECW, which even though Paul's body of work and all those things with all the different people he's managed alone probably could get him in the Hall of Fame, ECW was around when it really started to get hot when I was 3 years old. Okay. I'm 31 now. Okay. And we are still talking about ECW. And if you think that when they're in that arena in Philly, that ECW is not going to be getting chanted all over the place, you're an idiot. So with that being said, ladies first, honey, what are your thoughts on Paul Heyman? When I say Paul Heyman, what do you think of? And my question to you would be, now that we know he is going into the Hall of Fame, who should be the one to induct him?
It's pretty tough because there's so many options and there's so many people who vouch and praise Paul Heyman and are very close to Paul Heyman. You know, he's connected with so many superstars, wrestlers, executives, everybody in from ECW promotions to he's so for the barbecue. Like he's so at everybody's barbecue, so at everybody's house party. He's at everybody's wedding. He's somebody's.
He's the wise man.
Like he really is truly the wise man, and I believe it is long overdue for this man to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think the speech is going to be fucking immaculate.
I hope they give him time to talk.
Listen, it's probably gonna be on Peacock anyway, so I'm sure they'll give him time. But
remember, they said they want to get away from the big, long, drawn out ones. Like I want to see Paul Heyman talk about all the points of his career. But then again, with it being Heyman, I could totally see Heyman just being like, "All right, I appreciate it, but I don't want to make this all about me either."
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Something just went down on Roadblock.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, is he wanna? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay,
it's all good. You're all good.
Should I
again? Go ahead.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna watch this back anyways.
So it's
her face says it all.
It was a whole distraction just now. The D'Angelo and Mello are going at it, and the music hit. The music hit, and the crowd thought he was there, but it was all a ruse for Tony D. And he just beat him. So it is going to be Tony D. You heard it here first. Tony D versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT title. He is now the number one contender.
So what do you think about him being a singles guy? You know, we've seen a lot of stuff with him and Stacks. What do you think about him splitting apart now and wanting to kind of essentially be on his own?
I dig it. He was one of the originals when NXT 2.0 hit. You know, like when the new era kind of came in after they ushered in Braun Breaker and him as well and Mello. They were like Ilya Dragunov. They were like the mains in that era when they ushered out the Garganos and Finn Balor and Ciampa and all of them. You know, so I think it's really cool for him, and I think he's put in that work a little bit. I don't mind the split. I thought he was honestly capable of doing double duty, but I guess they're leaving that to the Wolf Dogs.
Well, they're still keeping them together as a group, though. They didn't like split the.
No, not really split it. But for him to break out on his own, he should, because honestly, he came in on a breakout tournament. So let him break out again into a single star. You know,
especially with Carmelo getting ready to go to the main roster. Like, I mean, who better for him to have like a signature win over than somebody like a Carmelo Hayes, you know, who we've already seen up on NXT and all that stuff. But I gotta, before we let you out of here, you gotta give me your pick. Who is the one that you think?
Oh, he really is there. Sorry.
Who is it?
Trick.
Oh,
he's beating the shit out of Mello and his security.
That karma played. Why? That karma. Carmelo just fucked around and found out. But
you shook now. He ran away. You shooketh now. Wow, that was crazy.
He said you shooketh.
What happened in that in the ruse and the distraction was Tony D had the music play, but Trick didn't come out. it was all a distraction for Melo to look away, and he got him on the pin. But he actually went on the mic and was like, nah, it wasn't just a distraction. I got my boy back, like, over here. So, yeah, Trick this is exactly what we wanted around this
Trick
time.
first Melo is going down, stand deliver. That is going to be a banger. He's definitely been one of the breakout guys for NXT. But now that we know, and I definitely got to go back and watch Roadblock. Who is your pick?
Yeah, you definitely should. For Melo and Trick?
No, for Heyman's inductee.
Oh,
or
Heyman's
inductor.
inductee. Yes, going back to Heyman's inductee. So I think it could be a number of people. If it wasn't for the big guy and the allegations, I'm sure he would have probably been a candidate for this, but that's not happening, being that he's no longer allowed or no longer a part of anything WWE, which, you know, it is what it is. But
he's alluding to Brock Lesnar, anybody that can't connect the dots.
Yeah, I think Tommy Dreamer is a big possible for. I think he would be a very emotional induction as well for whoever inducts him. Maybe Bubba Ray, Dudley Bully Ray could do it. Let's see. I'm thinking. I was trying to think of a few people. CM Punk even could do it. I even said to the professor on Women's Wrestling Talk and the crew over there. I also said it could be Mean Mark Calloway. They could have Undertaker.
That would be sweet.
Do it, which would actually be pretty damn cool. I think,
especially because he was one of Taker's first managers for sure.
Exactly. So I think if anybody had the right to do it, it'd be any of those names for sure. No matter what, or they could really piss people off and have Roman do
it. She didn't name the name that I thought, man.
You bring up Taker, that's the first name that comes to my mind. When I think of Paul Heyman, my initial burst with wrestling was that Undertaker days with Paul Heyman and stuff. So like when I think of Paul Heyman, the manager, I still think of like white ghost faced Paul Heyman.
No, that's Paul Bearer. You're thinking of Paul Bearer, Corey. You're thinking of Paul Bearer. Paul Heyman is the guy who ran ECW. Right. When he was Undertaker's manager, it was when he was still Mean Mark Callis. But I'm going to do it easy like this one. You didn't name the name that I've been really stuck on. Somebody said it, and now I don't know, man. I feel like that's either got to be the one, or I feel like Paul Heyman's career, because it has so many different facets, from being a manager to running ECW to being a commentator in WWE to WCW and everything else in between. To me, I think Tommy Dreamer is a good name. I think Bubba Dudley's a good name, but one that ties it all together for me would be Stone Cold. Let's think about this. He was part of the Dangerous Alliance in WCW. When he got fired by FedEx from WCW, where did he go? He went to ECW. The Stone Cold Stunner, he got that from a guy named Mikey Whipwreck. You know, the stuff with the Sandman. If Stone Cold doesn't meet up with Paul Heyman, we don't see the same Stone Cold. I feel like Stone Cold or Dreamer or something like that, or Undertaker, those would be my top three. I think that's where we got to go as far as picks for Paul Heyman's inductor. But regardless, I think we would all agree that he's well deserving. Well, honey, I've kept you for quite a while. Let everybody know where they can check you out. Tell them about Women's Wrestling Talk. Shout out to TK Trinidad, and you definitely got to come back through at some point.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. And thank you guys for having me. You guys can find me on All Things Wrestling with Honey on Wrestling W Honey on Facebook. Wrestling with Honey podcast on YouTube, Wrestling with Honey Instagram and TikTok. I'm also on Live with the Crew Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Women's Wrestling Talk. Shout outs to TK, the boss lady, back from vacay, and shout outs to the professor, Christina, Seth, and the crew. Appreciate y'all. And also, you can find me with my friends at Sportsmark Analyst. I'm also a co-analyst there. We do our little prediction shows called the Heel Heat before the big PLE. So make sure you guys check out them on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well.
Hell yeah, man. And I'll talk a little bit more of it on Thursday. I'm making my pro wrestling commentary debut this Sunday. If you're in the Saginaw area, they're giving me a microphone to talk some shit about wrestling. I already talk a lot of shit when it comes to MMA, but we're going to see what I can do when it comes to World of Pro Wrestling. Make sure you check us out this Thursday. We're going to be live with the homie Drop Zone talking about UFC 299, trying to put together some of these parlays and bets to win you some money. So, in new time, in between time, left time, right time, back time, I'm ready to go to Philly. Make sure you check out some of those past episodes. Until next time and in the in-between time, peace.